Welcome. If you're watching the replay, don't forget to like the page if you're on Facebook, and subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube, so that the next time a broadcast comes up, you are and you are notified every time I post content here. All right, so if we haven't met, my name is Ladi Jia. I'm a career coach and I help mid to senior level professionals land amazing high paying jobs without going through a tedious or protracted job search. I also support these professionals as they navigate career growth. And this is my career drive live. Let me run the intro. All right. So this last month we spoke about career transitions, and we really focused around, changing from one career path to another, but also moving from one geographical market to another. And I spoke to, a couple of really experienced professionals who had made the changes. Feedback I got was fantastic, for that. And I know if you haven't watched it, please head over to our YouTube channel and watch all the back episodes. Very valuable tips, were shared. But this month of August, I'm going to be focusing on another type of career transition. And I've called this series Level Up, right? The professional's guide for moving from management to executive. All right. So, and I'm going to be sharing, as usual, practical tips, practical guidelines for you to make that shift. We're also going to be talking to other professionals who have made that shift or who have managed people who have made that shift, just to find out what does it take to succeed? What should I be doing as a mid to senior level executive, to move up to the highest levels? All right. So the first question is, why are we even having this conversation? Well, as a professional, if your intent, generally, the intent for growth is you want to get higher visibility, but more importantly, you want to be able to improve your income earning capability, right? Now, if you think about, improving your income earning capability, there are three ways that you can increase your ability to earn, or to increase your income earning. The first one is to learn an in-demand skill, right, and sell it. And we've talked a lot about it. Lots of skills are in demand, coming into demand, will always be in demand. Things like data analysis, project management, anything around digital transformation, being able to train other people, being able to coach other people, selling skills, even communication skills, right? All of these and more are skills that will always, earn you improved income if you master them, right, and you pitch them to the right people. So first way to increase your income, learn an in-demand skill. The second way to increase your ability to earn more is to level up, right? So within your organization, within your career path, within your profession, move up to a level where you are paid at a premium, where you are paid a premium, right? Now, what I like about this leveling up is that it is always in demand. Businesses and other types of organizations will always need leaders, because leaders are the ones that make it happen, right? So, a very logical thing to do is to then ask yourself, what does it take to step up to the level where I can, be in leadership at executive level and command this premium income. The third way to significantly increase your income earning capability is to start your own business, right? And so, of course, I mean, with starting your own business, there is no limits to the amount of income you can earn, and you're doing exactly what you want, serving the people you want to. But of course, for the purposes of this series, we are focusing on leveling up. All right. So the next question is, what's the demand for leadership? And it's kind of an extension of what I was saying earlier on. Leadership will always be in demand, right? One of the things you will notice, first of all, leaders are hard to find. Effective leaders are hard to find. When an employer finds an executive level employee who can run all or part of their business and make it profitable, they're willing to pay. It now becomes a matter of how much do you want, not well, this is what we can afford to pay, because the skill is so hard to find, right? Some executives earn more than some entrepreneurs. Some executives earn in one day what the average worker earns in a year. Peter Drucker, the renowned management expert, believed that a CEO's pay, for example, should be in the ratio of 20 to 1, right? In some cases today, it is much, much higher than that. And it's not just the pay, it's the perks, you get, in some cases, you get stock options. It's the whole composition of the compensation package, in addition to the other things: visibility, influence, power, right? Becoming and moving up to executive level is a very valid quest, right? Now, piece of advice I hear people trotting out a lot is, if you work hard, if you're honest, if you work hard, if you take your job seriously, and if you're really good at what you do, your work will speak for you and you will grow. I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's not necessarily so. You must, of course, be good at what you do. You must, of course, work hard. But those are the basic requirements for a professional. Anyway, it is possible to work hard and be great at what you do and even be recognized for it, but not move up to leadership. The journey, to leveling up has to be much more deliberate, than just working hard and hoping it happens. And so, what I'm trying to achieve with this series is to show you, right, practical tips, show you the people who have gone before, how have they done it? What should you be, learning and applying today, right, to be able to move up to that level. So let's do this. The next thing I'd like to talk about is, what are 4 things that you need to know. Oh, before I continue, if you have comments or questions, please go ahead and type it in the comments where you're watching, whether you're on LinkedIn or on YouTube or on Facebook. It will show up here and I will answer your question or take your comment on board. You have to allow the software, though, access your account for the comment to be able to show up here. All right. So we're answering the question, what are 4 things that I need to know, right, to be able to level up? Okay. The very first thing you need to know is to understand the role differences, right, at each level. So most people, I mean, when you join the workforce, you join as an individual contributor. At that level, what is expected of you and what is rewarded is your technical skill, your competence, your hard work, right? Like I was just saying, how effective you are at executing the tasks allocated to you. That's the barest minimum. when you do that and you do that well enough, you start to build, a reputation as a professional. Then you move to the next level, which is management. At management level, you are rewarded, right, for managing people and processes. um what managers do is they take the strategy, right, and they operationalize it, or they take the strategy and then break it down into functions to execute it, to make it happen, right? Management is essentially about control. You're controlling three things: time, quality, and money, and the interaction, between those three things. And of course, there's always a trade-off before them. At management level, do you get to be a leader? Yes, absolutely. You don't control people, you lead people. And I mean, one of the biggest points of failure is a manager's inability to understand the difference between the effectiveness of, management mechanism, that is control mechanisms, on processes vis-a-vis, people. So you lead people. There is some leadership at management level, but really, what the business rewards you for is how well are you getting things done within your function to meet organizational goals, right? So the topmost level, which we are talking about today, that is the executive level. What you're rewarded for and what is expected of you is managing the organization, right? And think about it as you're not working. It's the difference between working in the business, that is getting things done day to day, being involved in the intricacies, versus on the business, that is looking at the business from a strategic level, and asking, given I mean, where we are today and where we want to go. First of all, understanding where we want to go, what our mission is, understanding our relationship as an organization with the external world, right? And being able to bring that understanding back into our strategy and into how things are executed in the organization, for us to continue to have a sustained competitive advantage. There's a clear difference, right, in that role. So managing the organization requires, a strategic perspective, the ability to see. I actually think that visioning, or that ability to see, strategic foresight, is one of the biggest differentiators, right, of people who move up to and succeed at executive level from the others, right? You have to have external factors firmly in view. You're looking at things from a cross-functional perspective, not from I'm accounting or I'm HR, but I'm the business, and everything working together. Does it make sense, right? Your main role there is to see, right, inside and outside, to chart a course of action, right, and to set everyone else up for success, right? Now, at executive level, you have a much wider scope, as I've said. The demands on you are higher. Of course, the skills to succeed at each level are different, right? But for the purposes of this series, we are focusing at executive leadership skills, right? And to move from where you are to executive, it then means that you need to understand what these skills are, and take them on board, learn them. Most importantly, you have to learn to move from a functional point of view to a corporate or organizational point of view. Of course, you need a lot more market knowledge, right? And you need to be able to let people lead. The Center for Creative Leadership, they have this model where you move from individual contributor to manager of others, then to manager of managers, then to manager of the organization. So think about it in that ladder. For each step, there are new skills that you must master, right? And so we're going to talk about, so that's the first thing you should understand. What, you know what's the difference between the role you're performing now and that which you seek to perform. My next point, which you should understand, is an extension of the first point, right? Understanding the demands of the role. I'll just take a couple of skills you already use as a manager and talk about the differences. So, biggest thing is people management. I always tell people that people fail at the point of moving from individual contributor to manager because they fail to understand the difference. As I said, um, when you move to manager, you're not what we are looking for from you. What we expect from you is not to be great at the technical role. That's a given. It's how well you're able to get other people right to execute tasks and meet goals that matters, right? That is at manager level. You may think, well, okay, so that should actually scale up. Well, yes and no. At executive level, you become a leader of leaders or manager of managers. So your ability to drop your ego, right? And to get out of the way and let the competent leaders which you have developed or appointed do their actual work, right, is really important. And a lot of people fail at this point. This people management skill, of course, you must be able to motivate people, you must be able to paint a vision for them, but the people management skill that is really required is enablement at executive level. Is first of all being able to match the right people to the right opportunity and then to enable them and get out of the way. That's one way in which what you do as a manager and what you do as an executive is slightly different. Then let's talk about relationships. At executive level, um, your relationship scope becomes much, much, much wider, right? So you're not just doing a 360 within the organization, subordinates, peers, and the people who manage you. You are actively seeking and growing strategic relationships, across the industry, across your country, even globally, right? And here, it becomes more political, right? And it becomes more about power brokerage. And this is a common point of failure, right, for people. In one of the interviews I'll be having, we'll be talking about, navigating politics within and outside the organization at an executive level. But just bear that in mind. Your relationships become broader and a little more complex, and the objectives become slightly different. The third thing you should bear in mind in terms of the demands of an executive role is that you need to understand what really matters for the organization. Okay, so people, you rarely ever get promoted into executive level. What you do get is you get invited. It's like a small tight club, very little space at the top. Accessing executive level is very often by invitation, right? Okay, let me pause and take comments now. Oh, okay. Hi Tenny, thank you for joining. Thank you. And hi, David. Thank you for joining. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. So let's keep going. Right. Um, so I was talking about the third thing that you need to understand about operating at executive um, level, being led by the mission. I was facilitating a training for an organization a couple of years ago, and they had come to me with what they were trying to fix was getting people to align right with the mission. And so I began to talk to the group of people, which was a cross section of the organization, and a lot of the feedback I was getting was, oh well, it seems as if management prefers some people compared to us. Some people, seem to get all the opportunities. The CEO seems to prefer some people. And so I got them to, this was a group of like maybe 60 people from across the organization. So I got them to pause And I said, let's think about it. The people that this CEO likes, who are they? And we named them, right? What is it that they do differently from everyone else? What does the CEO constantly call them up to do? And we mapped it, right? And I said the answer to the question is, if you want to succeed here, these are the 1, 2, 3, 4 things that are important, right, for you to know and do. When we explored it a little more, the difference is typically, and it's not that it's not, oh, I like the CEO likes me, or I like the CEO. It's usually that the person gets what is keeping that CEO up at night. So you shouldn't be driven by what the CEO wants. You should be driven by what is driving that CEO, which is typically the mission of the organization. Nobody sets up a business, right, for setting up sake. Every entrepreneur, every business exists, right, to fulfill a mission and to achieve a vision. And it's not the mission and vision that you have on the plaque on the wall. It's the, what are we trying to change? What impact are we trying to have? You must understand it, you must buy into it, and you must be thinking as an organization, right? What are the things we need? What's happening in the market? What are the things that we need to do for us to reach our mission? If you understand mission and you'll be able to work to it, then it's easy for the people driving that business to invite you to partner with them at the highest level to drive the organization to meet this mission. I hope that's clear. So you really have to be thinking not from my own career or my unit succeeding, but why, what does this organization need to achieve? In getting invited to join the executive, why am I being invited? Why would anybody give me a place on that executive team? What's my unique contribution, right, and value, right, to that team? What should it be? And then you begin to hone it so that they can see it and extend that invitation, or so that you can push for a place there. So you must understand the difference, right, in perspective and in role. Okay, so the next thing that you should be aware of, or you should know as you prepare to level up, is to understand your why. I always say, before you do anything, understand your why, whether it's job search or everything. For the purposes of this conversation, yes, becoming an executive is very lucrative, as I've painted for you earlier on, right? It will pay well, you'll be visible, the rewards are high. But being an executive is not for everybody, right? So you must be able to critically examine yourself and coming to the conclusion that no, I don't think I'll function well in at an executive level is not an admission of defect or failure. It's simply an understanding of where your strengths lie and what you would rather do. Okay, so it's not a matter of pass or fail, it's a matter of complete and informed analysis, right? Of, is this right for me? And would I be effective at this level? Right. So, yes, it is lucrative, but is it for you? Questions you should be asking yourself, given your understanding, and you do have to take time to understand what it means to thrive as an executive in your industry or in your space. Now, given that knowledge, you have to ask yourself, where do I thrive the most? Right? I mean, there are people who choose to be individual contributors their whole careers. They are great at managing processes and technology and the technical things of getting things done. They're fantastic at doing that, and but they don't want the hassle of having to manage other people because there are different skill sets. Some people have an aptitude for it, some people don't. You can stay an individual contributor recognizing that I'm more technically inclined, and really hone your technical skills and grow in that direction. They are very highly paid special. You become a specialist or a specialist of specialists. So there's growth in that path. But it's important to understand where you are strong. Now, if you are going to move beyond individual contributor level and move to manager or leadership, you must then understand that acquiring that people management skills is critical and is a different set of skills. So you're asking yourself, and some people are fantastic managers. They excel at managing and controlling process, time, cost, at even leading people on the front lines. That's what gives them joy. That's where they thrive. If you pull them out of there and say, come and sit on the board where you're doing politics, 24/7, or you're talking to other leaders, or you're constantly strategizing, they would be miserable, right? So it's better for such a person to stay in their place of strength, right, and thrive there. I've had examples of people who were at um, um, line manager position being offered, to move up higher, and them being reluctant to do so because they don't want to move too far away from the line. It is valid, right? As long as you are making the most of your own strengths and your own opportunities, right? So at executive level, and a lot of people do not like at executive level, some of the complaints I've heard is, the politics is too much, right? Or, the considerations in terms of getting strategic insight, in terms of, trade-offs, right? And power balances is a lot for me. I don't think I want to do it. Valid. And then there are some people who thrive in that space. What am I saying? As much as possible, just be honest with yourself. Understand your why you want to do it. You can't just want to do it for the money, right? The money is a very important reason to do something. But I have found that a lot of the time, the money alone cannot sustain the level of passion, commitment, sacrifice that it requires to be excellent in any given path. So it has to mean a lot more. Many of the most successful executives I interact with tend to be very mission driven. I have a former boss of mine, and I'm going to be sharing his story a little later in this talk, who just was passionate about changing payments, the way payments were done in Nigeria. That was his focus, that was his dream, right? And that's what kept him, and he's become if not one of the most influential people in payments in Africa today. It came from a vision, and a mission. So the question I will ask you is, what's the thing you most passionately want to change? What's the impact you want to have or partner with other people in having within your organization? What's your organization trying to do? What are you passionate about enabling, right, at that level? Okay, so let me go to the next point. Once you've understood your why, the next thing you must understand is, what help will I need? Because believe me, nobody gets to that level without help, right? I've covered the issue of you have to be driven by the mission and the vision. I've also highlighted that there are skills, very specific skills that you need, right? And you need to grow. So you need a coach. I can tell you upfront, one of the fastest ways to level up in terms of growing your personal capabilities to function at executive level is to get a coach. Excuse me. And I will be talking to an executive coach as part of this process. I mean, I do some coaching, but I will also bring other people's experiences on board, right? You need a coach that will guide you as you take on these skills and as you exercise these skills at the new level you want to go to. You need a mentor, right? A mentor is a less formal arrangement than a coach, someone who's been there, who you can tap into their wealth of experience, especially when you are seeking counsel. And this mentor doesn't have to be only people who have done it before. Your peers, people who are entering the same level with you, who are facing the same challenges, can also be your mentors. But let me talk about the most important. And of course, you need your team to be on board with you as you move. Even when you're changing, even if it's a new job, you want to make this change by moving into a new job. Understand that when you get there, the very first people you have to get on your side would be your team. But there's a particular set of people that often get overlooked. Let me be honest with you. If you want to move to executive level, as in growing through middle management to executive level within an organization, sometimes even into a new role or within the industry, you need sponsors. A sponsor, right, is typically somebody who is a lot of time is within the same organization at a much higher level, who can speak up for you, right, when decisions are being made, when opportunities are being discussed, right? So we're talking at executive level, there's this strategic objective, right, that we have to achieve. We've say mapped out an initiative to get it done, and we begin to talk about who should we put in charge of it. You had better have someone, right, or people who will speak up and say, why don't we use Ladi? I've worked with Ladi on this project, she did so so and so and so. People who will advocate, your champions, more or less. Everybody needs one within your organization, within the industry. You need one, and you have to actively seek out these relationships and begin to grow them. Of course, you don't walk up to someone and say, I want you to be my sponsor. It doesn't happen like that. How do these sponsorship relationships happen? You look at an executive and you step up and you're a resource to them. You understand their thinking. When you collaborate on projects, you do your best to support them to get the work done. You seek them out, you seek out their mentorship, you seek out their friendship, right? So people are not going to sponsor you because I like you. They're going to sponsor you because they see your potential. They've seen you perform. So it's important, to pay attention to your sponsor relationships. Okay. Now, these are, the key points I wanted to start with. Of course, this talk is just setting the stage for other conversations we'll be having throughout the month. So the next thing I want to do is share a very quick case study, right, on growing from manager level to executive, one that I saw happen right in front of me. Okay. All right. So a few years ago, I joined this organization. It was a tech organization, very forward looking company, had a lot of young and upcoming managers. My manager was the pioneering, will I say, it was business development, co-marketing manager. And there were a lot of, so I'm struggling I want to anonymize the story a bit. So there are some details I'm going to have to leave out, right? But there were a lot of managers at his level coming from the same background. What differentiated him, as I mentioned earlier on in this talk, was he wasn't just about making the organization succeed. That was there. He wasn't just about developing his team. That was there, right? He got a vision, and this thing is, I don't know how to break it down, but he could see clearly. He looked at the tech and financial landscape based on, on his understanding of the market, and saw a clear opportunity in the payment space. And long before any of these payments, USSD, fintech, that is commonplace today, I'm talking 20 years before, long before they became, long before Nigeria even had the capability to switch payments, electronically. He saw the vision, right? And he put together a business case. We all worked with him on it. We had, we on the team, there were pilot, we were working in teams, working on different pilot projects, just testing out a few concepts. We worked together, put together the business case, and he looked at, it wasn't just, oh, what would the organization gain? He mapped the industry. What strategic alliances, right, would we need? Where would the strategic advantage come from? Looking globally, where would the best, who were the best people to partner with? What models were being used in other markets? It was masterful. But anyway, he built this, and we were all getting appraised and working together, right? So he built these business scenarios. He went, he made a case for it with this executive people, and they said, you know what, go ahead, pursue this thing, right, and make it happen. If you can, get the first, so it was staggered, right? So the first set of, if you can get the first phase done, we will fully support you, right, to branch us out as a company on your own and, spin it off. And so he did. I mean, he was so consumed by this vision that not only did he prove the concept, he got the key players in the industry at the time, all of them, right, to sign up and form this company. And from there, he has grown in leaps and bounds till the company he formed that many years ago has become a behemoth, right, in the payment space. The biggest thing, yes, he had very strong people management, very strong business acumen, right? But I think the biggest thing about him was just the strategic perspective and the ability to see strategic foresight. I can't overemphasize it. And it's not magical, right? It's actually a skill that can be honed. It's being hyper aware of what's happening in your environment, in your space, and beyond globally, and being able to take the data and analyze it and, set a path. So that's the case study I wanted to. In fact, I should interview him and ask him to share a few tips with us. But I mean, because he came from a crop of managers that I saw, and people have grown in different organizations. There are people who stayed back and went to the top within that same organization. There are people who branched out and built other from his set, right, and from some of us who he mentored. But he was outstanding just from just grabbing that vision. Foresight is important. Okay, so having said that, I will just close this episode by saying, start from understanding what are the skills and competencies, that I need at this level. And to help you, and I've mentioned quite a few of them as I've talked, but to help you start off, I am sharing a couple of resources. The first one I will ask you to look at is an article from the Center for Creative Leadership, who I was talking about their competencies, their competency framework, right? It actually lays out at each level of leadership what do you need to be able to do and describes it. It's a good idea to know it, right? And then your next step after knowing it and understanding it is to, a second one is from Shrim, right? And I will also share these links in the comments below the video once I finish this. Once you understand what the competencies are, you need to do two things. One, these competencies that have been defined, because these are just frameworks, which one is applicable to your space? Looking at the leaders, what's the best way to predict or to understand the path to success is to look at the people who have gone before. So in your own space, who are the executives? What's their path? What do they excel at? Take that, cast it against these competencies, and begin to map out your own personal development framework. How good am I? Where am I right now with regard to this skill, right? And then what are the things I can do to grow? A kind of personal development plan. That is of course the basic. Next week we'll be talking a little more about strategies for internal growth. So moving, what makes some people succeed and some people fail. What do the people who go to executive level by growing through an organization, what are the steps that they take? I'm going to be talking to a very experienced HR director who has seen many managers come and go, and they'll be sharing, these practical tips with us. So until next week, thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, if you're watching this as afterwards and you have any questions, or there's any information you need me to cover as we have these discussions, please make sure you mention them in the comments, and I will oblige. Don't forget to follow me on LinkedIn so that you will know when new content comes up, and so that we can just stay connected and talk. So thank you, and I'll be back next week at the same time. Bye now.